Hi, I'm Todd Pattison, the Conservator at the New England Historic Genealogical Society. And I just wanted to show you a few things about protecting your papers and photographs and other two-dimensional objects using some folders and some boxes. Now the first thing to keep in mind is there are a real range of sizes for boxes and for folders that you can purchase for your materials. And you want to think about the size of your materials when you put them into the boxes. So this is a standard flip top box for basically 8.5 by 11 material, kind of your standard letter stationery that you would get. And a lot of things would fit into a box like this. But they also have very similar boxes that are just a little bit larger. What you need to remember is to get a folder that goes along with those boxes. You don't want to have a smaller folder in a larger box because then it can move around. And there are even some really large boxes and all kinds of sizes in between. So this box, instead of being a flip top box, it just has a separate box from the bottom. They were designed, I think, originally for newspapers and things like that, but you can get almost any size box that you need. And you want to really think about the size of your box and the size of your materials. So you can see I have a large area that I'm working on here. I've cleaned it off so that I can spread my materials out and look at it and see what needs to go into what box. So you want to be really careful about sizing your folders and your boxes for the materials that you have. Now this seems like it's an 8.5 by 11 size and it would fit in this folder, but if you look very closely, it just sticks out the edge of the folder. You want to make sure that you have at least 1/4 of an inch on each edge. So I would have to go up to my next size folder and my next size box to fit a piece like that, so that I've got this 1/4 inch margin here and at least 1/4 of an inch margin on the head and tail. Now, another thing you want to think about with photographs is maybe putting them in some kind of a mylar sleeve so that you can see them, and whenever you take them out, you don't actually have to touch them. So mylar can be a good choice for that. I would still put these into a folder when I could do that because that's going to add some added protection when you take them in and take them out. Now, if you have a photograph that's mounted onto a board, such as this one, sometimes that board is going to be very brittle. So you can see here this corner has broken off before. They do offer sleeves of mylar that are attached to a support board. So if I put this into this folder now I have a stable board and I'm less likely in handling to break that off. Some other sleeves that they offer for sale would be for negatives. Negatives are something that you probably aren't going to handle very often, but you would want to protect them because they can scratch very easily. So this material is fairly soft. It allows you to see the negative. You know, I can kind of see the image, especially if I held it up to light, to make sure that it's the one that I want if I do want to take it out. But it's not going to damage it at all. It's not going to stick to it. And I would want a corresponding size box to a bunch of negatives like this, and maybe even have some folders for those boxes as well to house them. And the same would be true of smaller photographs. These are tin types. They obviously can bend because they're very thin metal, and they can also scratch. The photo is right on the surface of this very thin piece of iron, and so any kind of abrasion at all. So you would not want to put multiple tin types into a small folder together because the backs of them or the corners can actually scratch against each other. With paper documents, you can probably put up to 10 items together in a folder. Photographs, sometimes if you put them into these mylar sleeves, you might be able to put multiples of them in a folder, but you want to be careful not to put too many into a folder. So once you've put a small group of documents into a folder, or have placed a photograph into a folder, maybe multiple photographs in the folder if they're thin and protected and you don't think there's a problem, then you would want to use this extra lip up here to write whatever the items are, so that as you put them in the box and want to retrieve them, you can easily see that information and go through the items in the box to find it. Now, the other thing that you can also put into a box like this using folders would be a slim volume. So this is a wedding souvenir from my great-grandparents, and that can be put into a folder with the spine against the fold edge, and then the folder can be closed, and that can be placed in so that the spine of the book is resting on the bottom of the folder. You don't want this standing up. You certainly don't want it on its foredge to protect it. And then the last thing that you really want to think about is making sure that you have enough material in the folder so that your documents or your photographs won't slump inside the folder. So if you don't have enough material, you can take a piece of acid-free cardboard and bend it so that it's the right thickness, and then place this in the back of your folder, of your folders in the box, just to fill out the rest of the space in that box. So now it's kind of not snug, it's just the right amount so that nothing can slump in here and it's going to stand upright. And then the last thing that you might want to do is to create some computer-generated label that you can adhere to the edge of this box, just so that you know what's in the box, so you don't have to go around through everything and try to find it. So I hope that's given you some strategies to try to organize and better house your flat papers, photographs, other two-dimensional objects, or even slim volumes. Thank you.